Welcome, gents. Just because you walk alone doesn't mean you're lost. Sometimes it just means you know exactly where you're going, and not everyone is meant to come with you. Being a Sigma male means living in a world that constantly tries to define you, while you quietly choose to define yourself. You're not loud. You're not trying to prove a point. You just are. And that alone throws people off. They want your attention, your energy, your approval. But deep down you know you're not for everyone. And that's the point. You were never made to fit in. You were made to stand apart. You don't chase crowds because you value peace over noise. You don't entertain games because your time and energy are sacred. And while most people need constant validation just to feel seen, you've built a solid relationship with yourself. That's rare, that's powerful. And that's what makes you intimidating to some, but deeply magnetic to others. This isn't about being better than anyone. It's about being true to who you are, even when the world doesn't get it. So if you've ever felt misunderstood, distant, or like you just don't click with what everyone else seems to follow, that's not a flaw. That's your power. Stay grounded. Stay sharp. You weren't made for everyone. And that's exactly why the right ones will never forget you. I encourage you to watch till the end, because number 11 point you might have experienced oftentimes. Let's dive in, gents. Number 1, you don't get addicted to people. You get addicted to growth, and that alone sets you apart in ways most people will never fully understand. You're not looking for someone to complete you. You're already whole. You don't need constant attention or company to feel alive. What really drives you is progress. Mental, emotional, spiritual, financial. You crave growth in every area of your life. That's your addiction. That's what lights a fire inside you. Most people just want a partner. Someone to text good morning and good night. Someone to ease their loneliness. Someone to say, I love you on cue. But you want more than a warm body beside you. You want depth, alignment, truth. And if someone can't evolve with you, think with you, build with you, or walk in honesty beside you, you'd rather walk alone. You don't fear being alone. You've learned that some people can be a heavier burden than solitude ever could. You've been around people who drained your energy, confused your path, and distracted you from your purpose. That's why you've developed this clarity, this sharp ability to detect who's real and who's just filling space. And here's the thing, your standards aren't unreasonable. They're just not negotiable. You'd rather sit in silence and grow than surround yourself with noise that holds you back. You'd rather be misunderstood and evolving than praised while playing small, and because of that, some people think you're too distant, too cold, too hard to reach. Let them think that. You're not here to explain yourself, you're here to rise. So when you walk away from what doesn't serve you, when you say no to comfort and yes to challenge, when you choose truth over attachment, know this, that's not a loss, that's a gain, that's who you are. You're not addicted to people, you're addicted to the person you're becoming. And that's why you'll always be different. That's why you'll always be rare. Number 2, you're rare, not because you're hiding, but because you refuse to lower your frequency. And that's exactly what most people don't get. You're not avoiding anyone. You're not being too good or playing hard to get. You're just not willing to shrink yourself to fit into places or relationships that don't match your standards. You've done the inner work. You've built discipline, self-awareness, and peace. So no, you won't laugh at fake jokes, entertain shallow energy, or pretend to be someone you're not just to blend in. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. And the truth is, most people aren't used to that kind of presence. They're used to quick validation, small talk, surface-level vibes. When they meet someone like you, someone who's intentional, grounded, and brutally real, it throws them off. You don't bend to make others comfortable. You hold your line. You stay in your lane. And people either rise to meet you or disappear in their own chaos. Your energy speaks before you do. That calm, steady, no-nonsense vibe you carry, it forces people to check themselves. They either feel challenged to grow or exposed for faking it. And that's the beauty of your presence. You don't have to prove your worth. You simply live it. You're rare because you're not chasing noise. You're tuned into something higher, peace, growth, truth. And once you've tasted that kind of frequency, you can't go back. You can't unsee what you've seen. You can't settle for fake love, half-truths, or empty conversations. That's why your circle is small. That's why your time is protected. Not because you think you're better, but because you know your energy is expensive. So if you've ever wondered why people fade out, back off, or say you're too much, it's not you. It's your frequency. It demands honesty. It demands effort. And not everyone is built for that. Keep your standard. Keep your power. Real ones will rise. The rest, let them drown in the noise. Number 3, you're not antisocial. You're anti-bullsh**T. Your energy already does. You're the kind of person who'd rather sit in silence than force a fake vibe. You'd rather walk away than stay in a room full of empty noise. And the older you get, the more you realize it's not isolation, it's clarity. You've simply grown tired of draining conversations, ego battles, and emotional performances that go nowhere. People either appreciate that or feel threatened by it. They want your calm, but not your truth. They want your presence, but not your boundaries. And that's why you're hard to handle for those who aren't grounded in themselves. But here's the thing, you're not here to be easily handled. You're here to live on your terms, protect your peace, and keep your circle clean. You're not antisocial. You just refuse to waste your time, and that makes you powerful. Number 4, you refuse to be tamed by love. And that terrifies most. People say they want someone strong, someone real, someone who knows who they are. But when they meet you, they realize they weren't ready. You don't fall into love. You walk into it with your eyes wide open. You don't give yourself away just because someone offers affection. You know love isn't about losing yourself in someone else. It's about standing beside each other, whole, grounded, and unshaken. But most people don't understand that. They want love on their terms. They want to be close to you, but only if it means you soften your edges, lower your standards, or dim your light so they can feel bigger beside you. The moment they see that you're not wired to be tamed, they panic. That's when the games begin. Some try to run because they realize they can't control you. Others try to tame you, slowly, quietly, like erosion. They test you, guilt you, praise you just enough to keep you close but insecure. But neither approach works on you. You don't break for anyone, and you definitely don't bend to be more manageable. You don't confuse love with ownership. You don't want someone to complete you. You're already complete. What you want is rare, someone who can meet you where you are without needing to shrink you first. And that kind of self-possession, it scares people who rely on power plays to feel safe. They realize they can't manipulate you with affection or fear. They can't reel you in with charm and then expect you to stay in a box. You love deeply, but you love freely. You're loyal, but not caged. And anyone who tries to force your spirit into something smaller only ends up proving why they were never meant to hold it. Because real love doesn't require taming. It requires respect. And you'd rather walk alone than settle for anything less. Number 5, they want your aura, not your reality. People are naturally pulled toward your presence. There's something about your energy, steady, composed, quietly intense, that makes them curious. You don't need to speak loudly or show off to be noticed. Your calm confidence does all the talking. It's that rare blend of mystery and self-control that turns heads without even trying. But here's the truth most won't admit. They're attracted to the idea of you, not the full depth of who you are. They fall for the surface, the vibe, the image. They like how you make them feel. Intrigued, challenged, maybe even a little seen. But when it comes time to actually sit with the reality of you, the parts that don't bend for others, the standards you won't lower, the silence you don't feel the need to fill, that's when they start to pull back. Why? Because they weren't looking for a real person. They were looking for a fantasy, someone to admire, not someone to understand. They liked the edge, the mystery, the independence, but they didn't expect you to be unapologetically yourself. They didn't realize that your silence isn't passive, it's intentional, that your solitude isn't loneliness, it's choice, that your strength doesn't come with softness on demand. You weren't made to be consumed like a vibe or aesthetic. You're not here to soften just to make others comfortable. You're not a project or a temporary thrill. You're a whole, complex, deeply rooted individual, and most people aren't equipped for that. So when they lose interest, let them. Don't shrink yourself for the ones who only want your aura but can't respect your reality. You were never meant to be an illusion for someone else's excitement. You were meant to be felt, not just looked at. And those who are ready for the real you, they'll stay. Because they won't just want your energy, they'll value your substance. Number 6, You're not mysterious on purpose, it's just that nobody listens deeply. You're not walking around trying to confuse people. You're not putting on a mask or hiding behind silence to be hard to get. You're just real, and that's rare. Most people only know how to read what's loud, obvious, and shallow, so when they meet someone like you, someone who moves with purpose, speaks with intention, and doesn't overshare, they get confused. They say you're hard to read, but the truth is they're just not paying attention. You communicate, but not the way they're used to. You're not performing. You don't oversell yourself. You speak through your values, your boundaries, your consistency. You show people who you are through your discipline, your silence in chaos, your refusal to fake it. But here's the thing. Most people aren't trained to listen beyond words. They want instant access. They want surface-level vibes they can easily label and file away. You don't fit that mold. You don't hand out pieces of yourself just because someone's curious. You observe first. You protect your energy. And only those who take the time to really see you, who listen with more than their ears, get access to the deeper layers. You speak in presence, in how you carry yourself, in what you tolerate and what you quietly walk away from. That's your language. And yes, it's subtle, but it's honest. Loud people miss it. Shallow people misunderstand it. But the right people, they feel it. They hear what you don't say. They catch the message in your stillness. That's the difference. You're not trying to be mysterious. You're just living with depth in a world addicted to the surface. And until someone's willing to slow down and listen with intention, not just curiosity, they'll keep thinking you're hard to figure out. But you don't owe them clarity. Let your energy do the talking. The ones who are meant to understand you will. Number 7, you are protective, not possessive. This is a key difference that sets you apart, and it makes a lot of insecure people uncomfortable. They're used to controlling relationships with jealousy, fear, and clinginess, but you don't play those games. You protect what matters to you fiercely, but you don't try to own or trap anyone. Your protection comes from respect and value, not from fear or need. You understand that people are not possessions, and trying to hold on to someone tightly only breaks what you care about. So instead of locking someone down, you create a space where trust and freedom can grow. That kind of freedom, real freedom, is rare and confusing to most. It feels like losing control to those who crave it. They don't know how to handle someone who values loyalty without suffocating it. When you refuse to get jealous or demand proof, it throws off the typical power plays. You stay calm, steady, and unbothered. And that unsettles people who rely on insecurity to keep their relationships safe. But your way? It's stronger. It shows true confidence. You don't need to cage what you love because you know its worth will keep it close without force. You don't doubt yourself or your value, so you don't need constant reassurance. People who can't handle this kind of respect will try to challenge it, test it, or push you away. But you don't flinch. Your protection is a boundary, not a trap. It's a promise to yourself and others that you honor what matters without trying to own or control it. That balance, being fiercely protective but never possessive, that's rare. It's a sign of emotional maturity and strength. And it's what makes you someone people want, not because they fear losing you, but because they respect what you stand for. Number 8, you don't chase status. You chase silence, truth, and self-respect, and that's exactly why you stand out without even trying. Most people are busy chasing recognition. They want titles, likes, followers, applause. They need to be seen to feel valuable, but you're wired differently. You don't need to be the loudest in the room to feel powerful. You don't need an audience to validate your choices. You're not trying to look like something. You're focused on being something real. You chase silence, not because you're hiding, but because that's where clarity lives. That's where you check in with yourself, block out the noise, and sharpen your intuition. You don't need chaos to feel alive. You need peace. That's how you stay grounded when everyone else is burning out trying to impress. You chase truth even when it's uncomfortable. You'd rather face the hard facts than live in a convenient lie. That alone sets you apart. Most people avoid the truth if it shakes their comfort. But you lean into it because you know that real growth doesn't happen in denial. It happens in honesty. And most importantly, you chase self-respect. You've reached a place in life where your peace means more than popularity, where how you feel about yourself matters more than how people see you. That quiet dignity, that's high status. Not the kind people flash around in photos, but the kind that's felt the moment you walk in a room. Ironically, that's what makes you so magnetic. In a world that rewards loudness, your calm confidence is gold. Your authenticity hits different. You're not trying to convince anyone of your worth. Your life reflects it. And that's rare. So while others keep running after attention, you stay in your lane, grounded, focused, and unfazed. You don't chase the spotlight, but the spotlight always seems to find you, because real doesn't need promotion, it just needs presence. And you've mastered that. Number 9, you speak the unspoken, and that burns bridges. When you speak, it's never just to fill silence. Every word has weight. You don't sugarcoat. You don't talk in circles. You say the thing that others avoid, the truth that's sitting in the room, loud and uncomfortable, yet ignored by everyone else. That honesty, it's sharp, clean, direct, and not everyone can handle it. Most people are used to watered-down opinions, safe comments, and polite lies. They survive on half-truths and performance. So when you come in and drop something real, something layered, precise, and stripped of all pretense, they don't know what to do with it. To the ones who value depth, it's refreshing. It's like finally hearing someone speak the language they've been silently thinking in. But to the ones who live on the surface, it feels like a personal attack. They'll say you're too blunt, too intense, or that you make things uncomfortable. But the truth is, they're just not used to anyone having the courage to tell it like it is without dressing it up in fluff. You don't insult, you don't belittle, you simply refuse to fake it. You won't pretend everything's fine when it's not. You won't nod along to nonsense. You cut through the noise, and that kind of clarity feels like a threat to people who hide behind it. And yes, it burns bridges. Some will distance themselves from you because your truth exposes the things they'd rather leave buried. Let them. You weren't meant to hold on to people who only function in shallow waters. You're not loud for attention. You're deep for a reason. You say what you mean and you mean what you say, and while that might offend the fragile, it also inspires the real. Keep speaking the unspoken. Let it clear the room if it has to. Because what remains after the smoke settles, that's who was meant to hear you. Number 10, you're attractive because you have nothing to prove. And that's a rare kind of power. While most people are busy trying to show off, flexing, posting, over-explaining, you move differently. You're not running around trying to convince anyone of your worth. You know who you are, and you let your energy do the talking. No loud entrances, no forced confidence, just calm, steady presence that speaks volumes without saying much. That's what makes you stand out. You don't perform masculinity, you live it. You don't need to yell to be heard or act tough to feel strong. Your confidence isn't noisy, it's natural. You're not trying to be the alpha or compete for attention. You've built yourself from the inside out, and that quiet strength, it shows. It draws people in, not because you demand it, but because you carry it. While others are caught up trying to look successful, desirable, or important, you just are. You're focused on growth, peace, and purpose. You've faced your battles, done the work, and now you wear that experience in your posture, your tone, and your choices. That's real masculinity, not the loud, shallow kind, the kind that protects, leads, and stands firm, even in silence. And that's why people notice you without you trying. Your presence isn't something you market, it's something you carry. You walk into a room and shift the energy without needing to compete for attention. That's not luck. That's discipline, clarity, and self-respect. You don't need to prove your worth to anyone because you already know your value. And if someone can't see it, that's not your problem to fix. That's their lens to clean. So don't dim your light. Don't start shouting just because others are loud. Keep being the man who doesn't need a stage to be seen. Real recognizes real. And the right people, they'll always feel your presence, even in your silence. Number 11, you're loved in secret, rejected in public. There are people who admire everything about you. Your strength, your clarity, your ability to move through the world without begging for attention. But they admire you from a distance, quietly, privately, because getting close to someone like you means stepping out of line, and most aren't that brave. You don't play the game. You're not trying to fit in or rise through popularity points. You don't post for validation or water yourself down to stay likable. You're not part of the herd, and that's exactly what makes you magnetic. But in a world built on image, where everyone's trying to polish their persona and maintain their aesthetic, being connected to someone real, someone raw, someone unfiltered like you, it scares them. You're the quiet rebellion, the reminder that it's possible to live without seeking applause. And while they respect that on a soul level, they fear what it would say about them if they stood next to you. So they admire you in silence. They watch your moves, echo your words, maybe even imitate your vibe behind closed doors, but in public, they distance themselves. They pretend not to see you, because aligning with someone who doesn't chase trends or pander to the crowd could make them look less polished, less acceptable, less safe. It's not personal, it's just that you don't fit their brand. And deep down, they know they'd have to drop the act to stand beside you. And not everyone's ready for that. But here's the truth. Being loved in secret doesn't make you less valuable. It makes you dangerous to the system that rewards fakeness. People reject what threatens their image, not what lacks worth. So let them hide, let them hesitate. The real ones, the ones with nothing to prove, will never need you to shrink, filter, or perform. They'll love you out loud. Until then, keep walking in truth, even if it makes you hard to stand next to. In final words, let's be honest, being a Sigma male isn't about being cool, mysterious, or different for the sake of it. It's about knowing exactly who you are in a world that keeps trying to shape you into something else. You walk alone not because you're lost, but because the crowd never offered anything real. You've learned that peace costs more than popularity, and that's a price you're willing to pay every single time. You're not rare because you try to be. You're rare because you refuse to trade depth for acceptance. While others crave noise, you crave truth. While most people chase attention, you chase meaning. That makes you stand out. And yes, that also makes people uncomfortable. Some will admire you from afar. Others will misunderstand you completely. That's fine. You weren't built for everyone. You were built for what's real. You don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need to prove your worth. It's felt in the way you carry yourself. Quiet, grounded, certain. You don't follow trends because you are the standard. And while that may make your journey lonelier at times, it also makes it clean. No pretending, no drama, just presence, purpose, and peace. So here's your reminder. Stay sharp, stay solid, and stay true. Don't lower your frequency just to be understood. The ones who get it, and the ones who don't, they were never meant to walk beside you anyway. You are the calm in chaos, the watcher in a world full of performers, and whether they admit it or not, they all feel it when you enter the room. You're not for everyone. And that's exactly what makes you unforgettable. Thank you for watching, Gents, and God bless you.